Welcome to Untold, a podcast about Utah's boldest entrepreneurs and business leaders and their behind the scenes battles, breakthroughs, and what the heck were we thinking moments. These are the stories you'll wish you heard sooner about the businesses you might not have known were right next door. With me today is a great example of that. Noah Rosales is the founder and CEO of ACD Direct. Thanks for coming, Noah.
Hey, thank you, John. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Looking forward to our chat today. So for the listeners, maybe take a moment and introduce us to ACD Direct. It's the kind of name where it doesn't really tell us what you do. So introduce us a little bit to the company and what do you do for your clients?
Great. I can tell you that ACD, just the acronym ACD, stands for Automatic Call Distribution. It's an old buzzword in the telephony industry. We've actually morphed it into automatic contact distribution because in this day and age, it's not just phone calls anymore. People like to get on social media and reach out to companies that way. Email is another way. And then what's really ramping up is text. Uh, Even so much as they're looking at doing business text to kind of separate your personal text messages and your business text messages. Something that Samsung and Apple's doing. Well, when I was confronted with an opportunity to create this company, and it came out of bowels of fire, because I was tasked to uh, make our employees of our other company uh, laid off. We had to lay them all off because we were working with Compact Computers. They merged with HP, and
Mhm.
that company decided they were going to take everything in house and move the calls over to India. And the owners were in, you know, flight or fight mode, and they decided to do flight and told me that, we need to lay off everybody. I said, hey, pump the brakes. I just got out of active duty, went into the reserves, bought a house, and I don't think that's a great idea. And let me see if I can come up with a business plan to save the company. And they gave me a week. I came up with this business plan that I wrote down on paper. Nowadays, you can use ChatGPT to write in about 30, 60 seconds. And I gave it to them. I needed $40,000 cash, and I told them exactly what we needed to do, send everybody at home, had them become remote call center agents. And I didn't come up with this idea myself. JetBlue was doing home-based reservation agents at the time. And I took their model and ran with it. Another company, Ecology, was doing the same thing, and it was handling the Olympics. Uh, and I was like, that's a great model. Let's go with that. It's low overhead, and we didn't need a building right away.
Yeah.
So they bought off on it. Actually, Merrill Moore, he was the one that was going to invest in it, and Pat Buchanan. Day one, May 1st, 2003, ready at the bank to deposit money, and they come up with 16 grand. Asked for 40. And that's all they could come up with. I was like, okay, I'll make it work. And that's what I did. I mean, it's one of the things that you learned in the military is you get tasked with something that's almost impossible. You still got to get the job done, and you don't always have the resources. So
Mm.
you make it work. You beg, borrow, and get it to the finish line. And I did. I took that 16,000, got with a lot of our vendors. They offered to push us off 90 days, 120-day net payments, and that's how we survived. First year we lost 400,000. After that, we were profitable, and for 22 years, I think we only had maybe 3 tough years, but the rest were all profitable.
Wow.
And that's what how ACD Direct started. 7 agents, 28. Oh no, 7 accounts, 20 agents, and now we have access to over 1,000 agents across the country and 270 clients on our books.
270 clients. And what kind of give us an idea of your typical client? What do they look like?
Well, those 7 accounts started with PBS, and from there we grew into PBS and NPR. Then we went from PBS, NPR to non-PMOs, which are your like St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital, ASPCA, Wounded Warrior Project, DAV, and we started handling those accounts. And we became one of the leaders in the industry for handling nonprofit clients. And we've done very well in it in the last 22 years. But about 4 years ago, I needed to diversify my portfolio, so we started moving into government work. And we purchased that same company that I modeled after in 2003, and that was Ecology, and brought them on, and they handle the state of Colorado's low-income energy assistance program. It's a great program. We also handle the crisis intervention program for EOC.
Okay.
And Jody Vest handles that account. She's been handling it since she was an agent, and then she became the owner, and then we purchased the company from her, and she's back managing both those accounts and the team there. So we diversified in that realm. Then we went into commercial, and our first commercial account was Aflac. So we kind of hit it right off the bat. I didn't know what we were going to look like going into commercial clients that needed a BPO. Aflac was a great name to get right then and there. And then about a short time later, we got Prime America, and now we've got a few other commercial accounts, and we're looking at growing that line. And we've hired a bunch of new BD personnel that help us get appointments and close those deals.
Okay. And what kind of range of services do you provide your clients?
We're a BPO, so we're a business processing outsourcer. We were just strictly a contact center, but we morphed because we're handling not just the traffic that most clients need agents for, but we're handling IT services. We're really pushing the envelope in AI and what it can do for companies. And we are very versed in CRMs, the customer relationship management tools.
Yeah.
We have our own internal IT team, and they handle everything, integrations, setups. They will basically meet with the client and find out what their pain points are. It could be reporting needs, or they want online reports. It could be that they need some integration where their last contact center just had flat files or just had a very mechanical setup, and they wanted more automation, and they want web services and API connections. We can do all of that.
Okay. So you're finishing up active duty in the military, and all of a sudden you got a week to come up with with a business plan on a napkin. What misconceptions did you have about making that leap? So what did you think was going to happen that didn't happen that way?
Yeah, what misconceptions did I not have? I mean, there was a ton. I didn't know what I didn't know, right? So I fell back on my military training, on what I have been taught on leadership. We were given some extremely tough tasks. I mean, take me for example. When I was in active duty, I was sent to Saudi Arabia when I was like 20, 21 years old, and I'm being put in a foreign country that I know. I mean, I don't even know if I remember if I knew where it was on the map.
Mm-hmm.
And here I am supporting the Saudi government, and they're working side by side with us because I was working hydraulics at the time, working on the F-16s, and we gave the Saudis, and I don't know if it was in a purchase or anything, but gave them F-16s.
Yeah.
So they're learning while I'm learning their culture and their country, and they're learning our equipment. and how we operate. So that was a culture shock and just something I had to overcome at an early age. Little did I know that all of this and all of my active duty training was going to help me in the commercial side and the civilian side.
Hmm.
And there was a ton that I didn't know. I was lucky to have Merrill Moore. He had started a company and he was helping me out along the way. And I was able to just learn on the fly. And if I came across something I didn't know, I just reached out. You know, I had starting to develop my network at the time. I think
Yeah.
back then LinkedIn was brand new, so I had 15 people on there that I could reach out to, and I just asked the tough questions. Sometimes you just get in there, do it the way you think is ethical and how you feel like it should work. And if you make a mistake, hopefully it's something you can back out and take a different path.
Okay.
And I've done that a lot of times. So
So
there's
start going forward, and then you learn that, oh, that's not going to work, and I got adjust course. So you mentioned Merrill a couple times. Is Merrill like a mentor, or was he like the owner of the original company?
He
And
was the owner of the original company. He was my mentor starting out with ACD Direct. Pat Buchanan was another one. They were the shareholders of the company. I didn't get equity into the company. I got sweat equity in about I think around 2008, and that's part of the deal. You know, I told him,
Mhm.
as long as I do all the work and uh, I came up with the plan and the business name and everything. If I do all of this and it's become successful, I want sweat equity. So I didn't have a single dime into it. I had brand new mortgage. I think back then I was making somewhere around 40 grand. So it wasn't very much money to get into a company and run it. I was pulling in about 120 hours a week. Uh, and I was doing the reserves as well. So I had a 2 week commitment per year. And I was once a month, I was working the weekend,
Wow.
plus doing the 120 hours a week with ACD Direct. So I basically slept about 4 hours a night that year, and probably for the last 7 years of our beginning.
Wow. Now, sweat equity indeed. Um, I'm curious. You mentioned the military and how it helped to prepare you for what you were going to face in the civilian world. Is there anything that it maybe you had to unlearn? Anything from the military that doesn't work, and you had to find a different way?
People, you cannot in the military. You're property, right? You're
Okay.
owned by the government. In a corporation, people are not owned, and you can't just go to him and bark orders and expect him to feel good about it. So it was a big change for me. I'm still learning. I got a great HR director that just slaps my hand every once in a while and said, "Hey, you can't talk to him that way. You can't order him around. That's not going to work. Put the nice CEO hat on and not the drill sergeant hat, and you'll get more out of them." So, and if I knew this back when I was in the military, I probably would have balanced how I led. And we had some really good leadership programs that were teaching us that, but it came in later on in my life,
Hmm.
my military career. Um, so it helped me out in the civilian, but I wish I had those tools back early on in the military.
Okay. Okay. Good. Good. Um, I'm curious in your early journey, you talked about how hard you were working. Um, any mistakes that jump out at you, like things that you got wrong early on that now are a lesson that you might teach someone else?
It would probably be around 1099s and how you have to really ensure you're in compliance. It's such a gray area between state and federal laws over 1099s, and they're all different. Every state usually has their own rules on 1099s. So you got to be really equipped to have a legal team that understands the laws in all the states and the federal government and IRS tax rules and everything else. So we had a lawsuit that came up, and I don't mind airing dirty laundry because we learned a lot from it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, we had two independent contractors saying that we're employees. We settled out of court, and I think if we would have continued on with that lawsuit, we would have ended up winning. It would have been more expensive. So we ended up doing a settlement. But one of the things I learned was, with 1099s, you can't control any aspect of it. They are individual business owner, and that's how you treat them. So there's one of the things that I would let any company know that is utilizing 1099s is ensure you know the rules, sure you know the laws, spend the money on the legal team. Usually you come short that until you need them, and you should really prepare yourself with a good legal team.
Mm-hmm.
And, we learned a lot early, just making some mistakes and then redoing our contracts and working with independent business owners so that they come in and they just do a service for you, and that's what they do. We certify them on the projects they work because our clients expect a high level of service. They expect the agents that we provide them to understand their accounts, their mission statement, and to provide a very good experience for their callers, especially in the nonprofit sector, because people are calling in to give hard earned money, and they get a gift. It might be a tote bag, it could be a blanket, it could be a cup. But the money they're providing is for the mission. It's because they believe and they support the mission. And whatever prompted them to call, you need an agent there to give a good experience who believes in that mission. So we don't require any of our agents to work an account they don't believe in it.
Oh, okay.
We get a new account, it comes in, we put it out to the whole group and say, hey, we're working with Wounded Warrior Projects. They want to have agents. Is this an account you want to work? And they'll certify for that account and get that skill set.
Okay. So you when you get a new account, you want to identify people in your organization that are attracted to it.
Absolutely.
Um, that sounds like there's a lesson. Before, so what made you start to do that? It sounds like maybe that was a mistake that happened at some point.
It was. We had an account. It was a cookie account. And we kind of like diverted away from nonprofit, trying commercial early on. And not every agent fit the account. And we just were assigning them based on how well they handle calls instead of do they believe in this cookie. And it was like a protein sports cookie. And
Mm-hmm.
we were selling those. And we just matched up the wrong agents with that account, and it was a very painful lesson because that company ended up moving on. And I think if we would have known what we know now, it would have been a better experience for them.
Awesome. Yeah. No, that's I can totally see that. You can't sell something that you don't believe in. Like and your your employees, the people that you're putting on the phone, are the face of the company in a
Right.
in a way, right? Oh,
Yeah,
awesome.
I can give you an example is Planned Parenthood. Not everybody wants to take a Planned Parent call. It could be religious beliefs, it could be political beliefs, and that's one that's very sensitive, and we had to be very cautious around how we um, took that to our agents and what agents were working that account. Because sometimes agents will pick up an account so they tell us they want to work it, but they may not believe in it, and it comes out in the call. You can't kind of hide that.
Yeah.
So um, we want to match up the right agents with the right client.
No, that makes sense. Okay. Um, so hopefully you're not working 120 hours a week now. Am I right?
No, I've built a great team.
Uh,
We've got 4 companies now, and we've got 2 that are sister companies, ACD Direct and ACD Connect. They work pretty much hand in hand. ACD Connect is our W-2s to handle like white glove service. It's your customer service, your donor services, your ACD Direct is 1099s, gig economy. They handle donation taking, quick calls, 5-minute calls from start to end.
okay. Okay. So, um, yeah, I'm curious. So, based on our first discussion, I learned that you're a mountain biker.
Yes,
Um,
just got
so
into it about 2 years ago.
awesome. So tell me about, running, I mean, having a role like yours can, you might not be working 120 hours a week, but it still can be stressful. What are other things you do after a hard day to kind of get grounded?
Well, I golf, and there's a golf course right there.
Sweet.
So yeah, golf grounds me more than anything. One, I have a service animal, so Jett, he comes along golfing with me, and it's his break from actually working because when he's working, he's constantly watching what I do. And then when I take him golfing, he gets to go, chase ducks and go find pine cones. And everybody in our little group, our foursome, will throw the pine cone for him, and everybody's has a story about Jett and his pine cones. And get out in the fresh air, the sun, the trees. That's what grounds me. I've had to deal with PTSD, also a service disabled veteran, and that's really turned me around because I couldn't find anything to really assist me in depression, anxiety.
Mhm.
But golf, Jett, has really got me grounded and helps me with my business because it refocuses my energy after being refreshed. It's what makes me handle the tough decisions I need to do because I come in there with a clear mind.
That's great. Well, first, thank you for your service. And second, it's awesome that you found a path and found something that helps. So, how long have you had Jet?
I've had Jett for 2.5 years. Got him back in 2023, around this time in July.
Okay, well, cool. Yeah, I'm curious. So having a service dog, taking them in different situations. Is there anything you wish people knew about service dogs that they don't?
Probably the number one is letting public and companies know that there's only 2 questions you need to ask uh, someone with a service animal, and that is it. You're not supposed to ask for certification. You're not supposed to be asking them for any documentation. You just, they ask if that animal's a service animal, and then what tasks does he perform. They're not supposed to ask what your diagnosis is or get into
Mm,
medical. There's a lot of HIPAA compliance in that. But everybody fails that. Uh, and I always say everybody. There's a lot of good companies out there that understand the rules. But I've hit more companies that don't than I visited companies that understand and treat uh, Jett and myself um, with with some understanding.
mm,
So I
okay.
think that's the biggest one. Uh, yeah, just if you see a service animal, always ask if you, because I have people pet him all the time that don't ask to pet. I have a little tag there. I don't mind him getting pet, but there's other service animals that you should not pet at all because they're, Jett works to see when I have anxiety and depression.
Uh-huh.
So if I'm out golfing, I'm probably not having anxiety or depression. Yeah, go ahead, pet my dog. but there's others, veterans and others, civilians that have service animals
Yeah.
that have a sticker on their dogs that, or a patch says "Do not pet." Um, just err on the side of caution. Just ask,
Okay.
and they'll tell you, or say, "No, there's a sign there that says "Do not pet," because you don't know what that animal is trained to do, and you might be impeding that service that they're supposed to provide.
So it's basically like the forcing an interaction with the dog is distracting the dog from what it should be doing. Is that
Right.
the right
Yeah,
way
that's
to?
right. 100%. I'll give you a scenario. What if you don't know that person's blind? That person is holding on to the dog to get it across the street, but then you go pet the dog. Now you just divert them, and it can become a unsafe environment at that point. So
Okay.
you just never know. It's always great to educate your kids on service animals and tell them not to just come up to any dog with any dog, really,
Any dog,
because
right? Service animal or not, right?
or not, because that animal could be one that bites.
Yeah.
And then whose fault is it at that point if you go and interact with a dog that might get scared and bite your child?
Yeah. So I saw some posts on LinkedIn where you're referring to Jett as your Chief Barketing Officer. Love that. So I see you incorporate him kind of into as a member of the team. Do you have do other folks have pets that they bring into the office or service
Well, the
animals?
office is their house, so yeah, they all do. We had this whole photo shoot that everybody got to submit all their pictures of their animals at work. So yes, they do that. We love all kinds of animals. We encourage them to have animals. Back at the beginning of ACD Direct, we were zero noise at all on any calls. That means no babies in the background, no kids in the background, no dogs, cats. We didn't want to hear anything. We wanted to hear a pin drop. And it's funny because here comes COVID. Now everybody's working at home, and it is acceptable. And now we're like, yeah, we don't care if we hear a baby in the background. We've been really tolerant on the background noise, and yeah, it's really changed. And that's part of life, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you may have always done something a certain way, and then something comes along and says you don't have to do it that way. There could
Mm.
be a better way to do things and make people happier.
Yeah, it's funny. I've talked to so many executives who said, I was not a fan of any kind of hybrid or work from home sort of program. COVID forced me into it, and now I'm a big supporter. Like, and now
Right.
I really think it's the right way to go. So, you were already basically everybody's working from home, all your agents. Did COVID change anything else? So you mentioned the noise, but did COVID change anything else, or was it not so disruptive for you?
Not for us. I think if anything changed, we've got a lot of requests to train other contact centers, other BPOs on how we do what we do. It was very funny that one of the BPOs that came to us back in 2016 told us they would never adopt our model. I was like, hey, you should really look at, doing a hybrid model and having some of your agents at home. And the individual I was speaking to, I won't name any names, but he was like, we will never go to that model now.
Mm.
And then when COVID came around and I got the phone call saying, hey, can you help us out? You've already gone through this and we know you're fully home based. I was like, are you really asking me to help you out now after telling me you would never do it? I'm going to tell you, I told you so. So, and we're good friends right now, but that was a funny story that came up.
Yeah, yeah. Circumstances change, right?
Sure.
Awesome. So so you've been what 20 years roughly running ACD, right?
22, yes.
22. So I'm curious as you think about that length of time. What's one thing that you've learned about leading teams, leading the company that maybe you didn't know about 10 years ago?
that that I sometimes don't need to lead them, that I need to get out of their way and let them just run and get creative. Sometimes I was stifling their creative, juices by always having to be the boss. And I created the company. This is how we're going to do things. And probably the one thing I learned is, I got to trust the people I bring along. And I've hired some really good people, and I've lost some really good people. And I think if I knew what I know now, I could have saved some people, and they could have still been with the company. Uh, but I've got a great team. It's an amazing team, and every company CEO will say that. But uh, I could leave for a year, come back, and this company's bigger and better, and it doesn't take me, which is great to know as a CEO that they could run without me. And we went through this whole EOS process,
Uh-huh.
and I'm not even in the shot caller. My CEO, Angie O'Grady, she's the boss. And as long as we stay in sync, if we're not in sync, we'll discuss it. We meet every Monday, and we talk about what's going on and what decisions she's making. And if I disagree, then she'll explain it to me. And a lot of times she has to break out the crayons and a piece of paper because, I'm a military type. I need illustrations. And she's been great. It's just been unbelievable.
Mm.
So I put key people in key positions and then just let them do what they do. If they come to you and need assistance, then great. Be the CEO, be the leader, make the decision if they don't want to make a call. Because there's always those decisions that are two doors, where I told you I could back out and take a different path. But then you got your one door decisions where it probably takes me to make. And if we make it, there's no other path. And we got to go down the path, as rocky as it might be. So I don't mind making those tough decisions. I've done it for the last 22 years. But it's nice knowing that I've got a CEO who's in charge, who can be a shot caller, and I'm not micromanaging the company, and everybody's doing what they feel is going to be beneficial for the company. And that's all I ask. I want them to make mistakes. By making mistakes, you learn. We don't sit there and say, okay, wow, you failed. No, you had a learning experience. What did you glean from it, and what can we do better? How do we move up from that? And the whole team knows it. We've had some really expensive mistakes. We didn't fire anybody over some of those. We said, hey, we get it. You took a chance. It turned out wrong. What did you learn? How much for that money that we spent? What did we gain from it? So that it's value there now, right? Because now we can take that learning experience, however expensive it was, and apply it to future projects, goals, things like that.
Mm. Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. The value of mistake, right?
Yes,
You can turn it into value. Cool.
absolutely.
So, yeah, I'm curious as you think about ACD going forward. Um, you mentioned a little bit that your customer base is expanding. What else? So, what are your priorities, and where? Kind of paint a picture of where you think you could be in 5 years.
5 years, we really want to penetrate commercial accounts and government accounts. I want to use my SDVOSB certification that hopefully we'll have within this month. We're working with SBA on it right now.
Can you explain that, because I don't know that acronym?
Yeah, the SDVOSB is Service Disabled Veterans of Small Business.
Okay.
It's a certification like 8A or minority-owned company or
Got it.
woman-owned company. And the service disabled veteran gets certain set-asides out there on
Yep.
some contracts. So we're looking to get into more government contracts, more federal contracts, So we've,
Oh,
got into SAM and GSA. And then in the commercial side, we're tackling insurance right now, but we can do a range of different industries with the experience our agents have because they work for other companies. They just don't work for our contact center. They work for multiple contact centers, and they just pick and choose their schedule and fill it up with what other businesses they're using. And that's what we're marketing. We want to get agents who are qualified, which our average age for our agents around 35, which a brick and mortar call center looking at 18 to 25. You get a lot of college students and brick and mortar contact centers, high schoolers. So we got work at home moms and dads,
hmm.
and that's great. And we've had a lot of senior citizens that they want to get back in. They're bored at home, they want to get back in, but they don't want employment um, agreements, and they want to have something that gives them flexibility and they can come and go as they please.
Okay.
Like our agents can work a half an hour, or they can work an 8 hour day. It's how they pick their schedule. It's what's available.
Okay.
And when we open up the schedule, it's it's like a feeding frenzy. It's like throwing a bunch of uh, tuna into a pond, and you see all these uh,
Sharks. People who
sharks
want
coming in.
the
Yeah,
hours are going for it. Huh?
yeah, they do that. We tell them what time they're opening up, and they've got to just go in there and choose the shifts that they want really quickly, or else they're going to be taken. It's like me trying to book a tee time right now at Valley Golf Course. I had to get up I had to be available at 9 o'clock at night to get a 4th of July tee time. And in 2 minutes, all the morning tee times are gone.
Wow. So do you think somebody's got a bot probably that's grabbing their tea time
No,
right?
yeah. Oh, I don't know. Maybe on the tee time, for our company, we've had agents try a bot, and our IT team was able to detect it and block it. So
Oh, interesting. Okay. Okay. So in 5 years, what do you think your team will look like?
it's probably about triple. We've got some really big contracts coming up right now. We are looking getting to AI, and let me preface that we're not looking to replace our agent pool. We're looking to mitigate high queue times, and
Mm,
hopefully we're still got about 6 months of development on this, but we'll be able to offer callers that don't want to wait in the queue an AI agent, and very secure. We're making sure that we're covered on personal identification information for PII.
yeah.
And making sure that that data is not being mined anywhere or being sold. And we're a PCI level 1 shop, so we've already gone through like third party auditors for credit cards. So
Right. Okay.
handling personal
That's a high
information
standard.
is gonna basically follow the same suit. And I'm really big on ensuring information is not being sold or sent out to different companies. So we're making sure that compliance is in place before we even launch. But we've already started testing, and we're actually using the AI model to certify our agents. One of the biggest challenges that we have in the contact center industry is a client will come in and they'll be like, "We're going to start you out with a small amount of volume, and then build you up." Well, then we train 100 agents to handle 10% of their call volume. Not everybody's going to call. Well, we can inject this AI with a prompt, everything about that client, and build scenarios where the AI acts like the caller, and we'll call in, and we have this right now. It's pretty cool. We have an AI that acts like a 75-year-old lady calling in to donate for PBS, and it's a whole conversation you're gonna have with this AI. I love it. It's technology at its best. Uh, you'll sit there and talk to her, and say, "Are you calling to make a donation?" She goes, "Oh, dearie, yes, I am." And then you're like, "Okay, can I get your credit card number?" And she goes, "Oh, would you please mind me getting my reading glasses? I'm really hard of seeing, and let me read this off to you." And she's really nice. Well, at the
Uh,
end of this call, it'll say, "Dearie, I think you provided excellent service, and I give you a 9 out of 10." Now, the report goes to the supervisor, but we already told the agent how well they did or any improvement they need to make with AI. The whole transcript's there. It redacts the names, the address, the credit card. So we already
uh,
got that built. And there's a whole transcript for QA and the call recording. So on the one call, it's ID'd, call recording, transcript, and the score the AI gave it.
wow.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Wow. So, yeah, it sounds like it's got real possibility to change the game for you.
Yeah, it's going to make agents improve their skill level without messing up on a real call. They can mess up all day long on an AI call.
Right on. Oh, cool. Great. So what kind of, I guess when you think about your team that you've been building, like what kind of legacy would you want to leave with them? Like, what's your overall goal?
Well, I want to leave them our core values, of course, and we developed them with our EOS process. Um, I want them to stick to our core values. I want them to not step over mission and integrity to pick up a dollar. I want them to make sure that the mission comes first. Uh, Money will always follow, but if you don't get the mission, you're going to start losing the revenue that you're gaining because you start losing clients.
Yeah.
Clients need to trust that you're going to be a long-term partner. No one wants to change out their contact center. It's like no, you buy your forever house, and it's like okay, now you want to move from it. Nobody wants to do that either. So it's very painful to move from a contact center. People do it all the time. There's call centers out there that are just a revolving door. They've got to get more sales in than what's leaving them. The great thing about ACD Direct is we've got clients that we started with. All 7 accounts that we've got are still with us today.
Oh, so
And
those
I think
seven beginning ones 22 years ago
22
are
years ago,
still with you.
still here and still loyal. They're probably the reason why we've got most of our PBS NPR stations is word of mouth. We didn't do any real marketing efforts back in the day. We do
Hmm.
now. You'll see our ACD logo, and you'll see Jett all over LinkedIn. He is our Chief Barketing Officer, our marketing team, Stella Pop. I want to do a shout out to them. They did an amazing job. From one photo I sent them of me and Jett at meeting at a conference, and where LinkedIn was sponsoring or not even sponsoring, they were like running it. They were handing out LinkedIn badges and things like that. And it just started that way where they said, "Hey, do you want me to make a badge for Jett?" And I was like, "Sure." So they put a badge on him, but the LinkedIn scan code didn't go anywhere. So my marketing team jumped on it, got him a page. LinkedIn kind of said, no, he can't have it, but we made a follow page or something like that that actually met the requirements. So now he has his own page that's linked to my LinkedIn profile. And they use him in all the marketing campaigns. When we're hiring people, you'll see Jett in a cartoon with his headset in. I actually just last Friday, it was Bring Your Dog to Work National Day,
Uh,
and I got him to come up on top of my keyboard. I put my headset on him, and we were looking at a Wounded Warrior Project website page for a 5K they were having, and I got the photo on there, sent it to them, and then they made a cartoon of that actual picture. It's out there on LinkedIn, and yeah, they've done a great job of making our CBO look good. And he gets paid. He just get paid in biscuits.
That's great. I'm wondering if you've been inspired by, you mentioned Aflac earlier, if you were inspired by the duck, the Aflac duck, because I'm like, people love animals, and it seems like you just kind of stumbled into this, but I was wondering like, or if you were thinking of Aflac when you did it.
I did it, but that company's Jett approved because he likes ducks. I mean, that's probably other than a pine cone, he's a bird dog, so he loves ducks.
I'll bet. Yep, I've had hunting dogs that looked a lot like him. So awesome. Well, great. Thanks for joining me today. We've talked about a lot, and it struck me that ACD Direct, like you said, offers jobs for people who might be looking for flexible work, but also there may be people listening who could be interested in the kind of services that you provide. So,
Sure.
if somebody wanted to learn more about ACD Direct, what's the best place to learn more?
Uh, Absolutely, our website, acddirect.com. There's two D's in there, so it's Alpha Charlie Delta and the word direct.com.
Okay.
They can reach out to me. You can just email top@acddirect.com, and that goes to the whole team at the top. We have my executive admins in there. We have my CEO, CTO. They're all in that email. And we'll probably direct that person to our BD group. They're just tuned on all the processes, and they've got a great process of onboarding. So that's who we direct. But I'm still taking sales calls. I took one earlier today for a remodeling company that started in Dallas. And I spent 30 minutes talking to them, and they have a real need. One of the things you'll find is that most people don't know they need us until they're in trouble, until they had way too many calls. And it's a good thing to have. If you're having too many calls, that means
Growth problems, right?
absolutely it is. There are pain points, but they're manageable pain points. And an outsourcer, a BPO, is a great way to go because it's not going to be as expensive as if you built it in house. And then we've got 22 years experience. If you build out your own internal call center, you're going to go through all the pains that I did in the last 22 years, or you can just come to us and get it done right.
Right. No, that's great. Yeah, don't reinvent the wheel, right?
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, great spending time with you today, Noah. I look forward to maybe we can catch up on the mountain bike trail or the golf course sometime here soon.
I like your thinking.
All right, man. Well, thanks for joining us today. I look forward to seeing this episode out there. Thanks for
Yeah,
your
me
time.
too. Hey, thanks a lot, John. Thanks for inviting me over.